Cities in America, businesses closed, immigrants refused to spend money to protest President Trump's policies, particularly those targeting Muslims and Mexicans.
Throughout American history, many immigrant groups have faced hostility and discrimination, including here in Cincinnati. Local 12's Jeff Hirsch looks at one group which might surprise you considering our community's history.
With neighborhood festivals and the world's largest Oktoberfest outside of Munich, Cincinnati proudly shows off its German heritage. Now it does. 100 years ago, it was very different.
Well, the targets were obvious. Anything that appeared German.
This historical marker at Findlay Market recalls a less than illustrious chapter of American history, anti-German hysteria, which broke out across the nation and here in Cincinnati when America declared war on Germany in April 1917 and entered World War I.
If you were speaking German on the street, you could get beat up.
Don Heinrich Tolzmann is the retired director of German-American Studies at UC and the author of a book about German Cincinnati. When anti-German hysteria swept through a very German city like Cincinnati, German books were removed from the public schools. A dozen German heritage street names were changed. Bremen Street, for example, became Republic Street. The German National Bank changed its name to Lincoln National Bank. And even German members of the clergy were in jeopardy.
A priest who was beat up by a mob. Now, if they beat up a priest, you can imagine what the intensity of the hostility was at the time.
An anti-German newsletter published the names of those who had purchased German bonds so those individuals could be harassed. Many German Americans then purchased U.S. Liberty bonds to show their patriotism, although Tolzmann's grandfather changed the spelling of his last name to seem less German.
If you were growing up at the time, during the First World War, and seeing your parents and your grandparents being called Huns and being demonized, you weren't going to be wanting to identify with that or be proud of your own heritage or wanting to connect with it.
In recent decades, German heritage in Cincinnati has become celebrated with events like Oktoberfest, and German language signs in Cincinnati buildings covered over for a century are once again visible. The anti-German hysteria may be history, but that history is not totally gone.
Nobody changed the street names back. We're still living right now under World War I.
Jeff Hirsch, Local 12 News.
And over the Rhine, the heart of German Cincinnati got its name from immigrants who had to cross a canal to get into the Queen City neighborhood they liked. And that canal was nicknamed the Rhine, so the neighborhood was over the Rhine. Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting stuff.